Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And welcome to PIDC's webinar on new small business funding programs. As Marla said, I'm Sam Rhodes and I'm the Executive Vice President at PIDC. I'm joined by my colleagues here, in addition to Marla Hamilton, Quinn Gwynn, Jasmine Walker, and Stanley Stone help us put on these webinars, and I have deep appreciation for all that they do to make this work. PIDC's client engagement is led by Marla Hamilton. All of the activities that we do around client engagement, in addition to the lending and the real estate functions that we provide, is led by Marla, and it's really designed to provide information and support from trusted sources so that we can help the Philadelphia business community, meaning you, achieve its goals. And towards that end specifically, this webinar is intended to familiarize you with an array of recently developed funding sources to help the business. As you may have noticed, just whether by coincidence or not, I don't know, but a large array of different grant and loan programs have been announced within the last several months, and we'd like to focus on those. You should consult our website, and Jasmine, I'd ask if you haven't already to please make sure to drop our website into the chat. The best way to keep up with all of the different resources that might be available to you is through our website, where we try to keep up-to-date information, trusted up-to-date information on each of the different sources. And as well as our future webinars that Marla mentioned. Today, we're going to focus on three specific sources. Comcast Corporation has announced its RISE grant program, and I hope to be joined by James LaValle here to discuss that. We are also going to talk about the Pennsylvania's COVID Hospitality Industry Recovery Program. And then we are also joined by colleagues at the SBA, the Small Business Administration, to talk about their programs. So I don't know whether James is on yet or not. We were going to start.
I am, Sam.
Oh, James, fantastic, great. So we're going to start with James, who is with, excuse me. We're going to start with James to discuss the Comcast RISE program. James is the Vice President of Marketing and Sales Development at Ppp and was a key executive at Comcast in terms of creating the RISE grant program, which aims to help Black, Indigenous, and people of color owned businesses. After James reviews that program, he'll turn it back to me, and I'll cover the Commonwealth's hospitality program. And then I'll turn it over to Sonia Smith and Kimberly Stout with the Small Business Administration to talk about the PPP, the EIDL, and the Shuttered Venue Program. So with no further ado, James, please take it away.
Great, thank you so much, Sam. And I'm just going to share my screen here with everyone so you all can see it. And there we go. As Sam stated, my name is James LaValle. I am the Vice President of Effective on the Effective side, which is the advertising arm of Comcast Cable. So extremely happy to be here, and thank you guys so much for having us. So I am going to take you through the RISE program. And RISE stands for Representation, Investment, Strength, and Empowerment. And I'll take you through there's two things I want to take you through today. One is the general program itself, but then two is a very exciting opportunity specific to the Philadelphia small business community in the Black, Indigenous, and people of color community. So without further ado, I will actually go on to watching a video that kind of explains RISE a little bit better than I can.
Businesses are largely in COVID. Small businesses have been almost twice as likely to shutter.
Disproportionately so.
More than half of Black business owners
struggling to obtain federal paycheck protection.
COVID-19 on African Americans.
You know, somehow we always find a way to rise.
To the blueprint builders, to the backbones of every block, to the late night legends and the pioneers of legacy, for the curators of the culture, for the family franchise, and for generations to follow. might fall, but never fail. Keep rising. Keep rising. Keep rising. Apply today for a variety of business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us to help your rise.
So that is our video that is currently playing, our commercial spot that's currently playing across the footprint. And RISE really was born out of the $100 million commitment that Comcast had announced back in June of 2020 surrounding trying to help the Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities in a lot of different ways. RISE actually came out of that commitment, and specifically RISE is focused on helping out small Black and brown business owners specifically, because we know that due to COVID, recent social unrest, those communities and those business owners have been disproportionately hit hardest, due to the pandemic, and in addition to a number of other things, including getting access to PPP loans, et cetera. So when Comcast developed the RISE program, we really looked internally first at the divisions that made the most sense for the small business community, and Effective and Comcast Business, our technology business services division, clearly rose to the occasion and rose to the forefront. So within both of those divisions, we once again looked within ourselves and kind of saw what would make the most sense and what would make the most impact to help these businesses continue basically during these hard economic times. And what we came out with was the consultation pillars that you see on the left-hand side. I mean, the right-hand side. So those business services that people could potentially win are consultation in the form of advertising, marketing, and creative consultation from our Effective team. Media, which is a 90-day media schedule, linear schedule on TV, for those who already have an existing 30-second commercial spot. Creative production, which for those who do not have commercial creative 30-second TV spot, we would actually create a TV spot for you and then subsequently run the 90-day media schedule on top of that. And then from our Comcast Business team members, we have a technology makeover, which is inclusive of an actual technology consultation, in addition to computer equipment, internet service, voice, cybersecurity, et cetera, for a 12-month period. So for a full year. On the right-hand side is just a smattering of our eligibility requirements, but there's a lot more, and I would welcome everyone to go to comcastrise.com to check out the full breadth of the, for one, the T's and C's, but also the program itself. But today, I'm excited to announce our newest pillar. Remember, RISE, Comcast RISE stands for Representation, Investment, Strength, and Empowerment. And in the investment area, we are announcing and starting as of and opening up next week, our investment pillar. And Philadelphia is one of the wonderful cities that has been selected. There's only 5 of them. And these investment grants will take the form of $10,000 grants, monetary grants for 100 businesses selected in each of these cities. We have $5 million collectively across those 5 cities. But eligibility requirements are a little bit different in this scenario. So we no more than 25 full-time employees. The business has to be in operation for a minimum of 3 years. And then of course they would have to be in the Philadelphia, Metro Philadelphia area. And really when we say Philadelphia, we're talking specifically about Philadelphia proper, along with the city of Chester. So that is what we're very excited to announce next week. Recipients will be announced on April 27th. And then the grants would be awarded hopefully by mid-May. In addition to that, on the top part, we talk about the RISE General Program. And we are currently in round 3 of the RISE General Program. So that opened up in in February, and that will close, those submissions will close in February 7th. RISE is a multi-year program that ends in 2022. And so therefore we're kind of in an always on situation in regards to application submissions. So right now, is round 2, we'll have round 3, round 4, et cetera. But those who actually enter into the Comcast RISE investment can also enter into the general program and vice versa. So it's open to both. So with that, I will go to a couple of frequently asked questions. You know what, I'll probably pause on this to open it up till after during our Q&A session.
James, can I impose on you? I know you were a key factor in developing Comcast RISE. Talk about what led you to work your magic within Comcast to make this a reality.
Well, I mean, the understanding, I mean, we live and breathe both on the Comcast business side and effective side. We live and breathe small businesses. That's our bread and butter on a daily basis. So the feedback that we were getting during COVID that, these folks, these are our partners. We don't look at them as clients. These small business owners are our partners. They're our friends. We have folks who live in the communities, that they service. And they were hearing direct feedback from all these folks surrounding how hard, it was for these businesses. So for us, it wasn't that hard of a push for both divisions to really push forth this initiative to senior leaders. When they heard what we were hearing and the feedback that we were getting from these small business owners, and specifically, from the minority business owners in these communities, it was without question that this was going to be a portion of that $100 million commitment that Comcast made. So I was extremely passionate about it, as we all just, live in different communities across the country, and we see the unfortunate for rent signs and closures. These small businesses, as you guys are all well aware, are the cornerstones of our communities. So losing them loses a piece of us. And we really felt like we needed to step up and really support, because we are part of the community, and not just by name alone from a big corporate, on the side of a stadium or anything, but we're part of these communities, and we really have a vested interest in making sure these communities survive. And this was one of the ways in which we truly believed that we could make a big impact above and beyond just giving monetary support.
And I just want to add before we move on, we've talked about this, I think yesterday, Sonia and Kimberly, about the impact that one person can have. And so never ever underestimate where there is someone who sees beyond what is in front of them, the impact, the long-term impact that you can have. So James, thanks so much for what you were able to see and get started. Again, we are fortunate in Philadelphia to be able to offer this grant program, and we've been pushing it. There are 100 businesses in Philadelphia that are going to get awarded a $10,000 grant. And so James is going to be here. Make sure as you listen to his presentation, to Sam's presentation, and to the SBA, we want you to ask your questions. These are the people. So you're not getting it third hand, you're getting it directly from the source. Ask your questions, get them answered, and we've given you enough time to be able to apply, or at least get your documentation together before the application period opens. So you're getting it before it all happens. Sam, take it away.
Oh, thanks very much, Marla. And James, thank you very much. It really is a tremendous investment from Comcast, which we appreciate very much. And as Marla said, we would really like to make sure that we get as much of that into the Philadelphia business community as possible. So we look forward to working with you and working with the business community to get the word out and make sure that people are aware. I wanted to turn next to a program and source of funds which the Pennsylvania legislature approved about a month ago, called the COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program. Every government program needs an acronym, and so they're calling it CHIRP, C-H-R-P. And this represents a $145 million investment across the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is intended to help businesses with within the hospitality industry that have lost revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Grants are available in each county in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is expected to receive about $17.5 million based on the math. And we at PIDC are partnered with the City of Philadelphia to be the point of delivery for the program. The program has not opened yet, so what I wanted to do now is just take you through a couple of the criteria and the eligibility criteria for it. And as Marla mentioned, whether it's Comcast RISE, whether it's this CHIRP program, whether it's the SBA or other programs, please keep in touch with our web site so that you're getting the most up-to-date information when the program opens. The grants are available to eligible businesses. The grants would be in the range from a minimum of $5,000 up to a maximum of $50,000. We don't quite know what to expect, but we would assume that the average would be somewhere in between $15,000 to $25,000. Eligible applicants are hospitality industry businesses. This is targeted to the hospitality industry that have a NAICS code, a North American Industry Classification Code of 721, which represents the accommodation subsector, which is largely hotels, beds and breakfasts, and so on, or the food services and drinking places subsector, 722. So again, restaurants, bars, and so on and so forth. So this is very specifically targeted. The applications in Philadelphia will open on March 15th. It's likely that we'll have a window that would be at least 2 weeks for applications. And the application window has to close by June 15th at the latest. So coming back again to a core message that I think you're going to hear from all of us, James, myself, and the SBA, be prepared. The best thing that you can do when these windows of opportunity open is to have your financial statements in order, have any sort of narrative statements around how PPP has impacted your business so that you're ready to apply when it opens. I wanted to take a little bit of a moment to drill down on the eligibility. Businesses, in order to be eligible, first and foremost, they have to be in those NAICS codes. They have to be a hospitality, restaurant, hotel, and so on. They also have to demonstrate at least a 25% reduction in revenue measured by your gross receipts. You have to be 300 full-time equivalent employees or less. So this is aimed at smaller businesses with a maximum tangible net worth of less than $15 million. By PID standards, that's a large business, but by sort of nationwide and Commonwealth standards, that's meeting the small business criteria. You need to have been in operation on February 15th, 2020, and remain in operation at this point, and with no intent at this point to permanently cease operations within a year of the date of application. So open as of February 15th and intend to stay open for at least a year. You need to apply in the county where you're located. So if you are a Philadelphia business, you would be applying through us. If you are in one of the surrounding counties, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, what have you, then our counterpart, PIDC's counterpart in those counties will be running the similar program, and you should Google to track that down. The applicant business needs to stay in continuous operation for a year, as I mentioned. This is for for-profit businesses and not publicly traded entities, so private for-profit businesses. In order to be eligible, you have to be in compliance with all local, state, and federal taxes, or at least be on an approved payment plan. So if you were delinquent at some point, that's okay if you've entered into a payment plan and are current on that plan. In addition, you need to be up to speed in terms of whatever licenses and so on you're required to operate. So whatever federal, state, or local licenses or permits are required, you need to be up to date on that. At this point in the program, some of the priorities have already been established by the Pennsylvania legislature. So you have to have a 25% drop in gross receipts to be eligible. If you have a drop of 50% in gross receipts or more, then you receive a priority. In addition, people who've not already, or businesses that have not already received grants under existing programs will receive a priority. And if you were subject to the closure from the Commonwealth's proclamation of disaster back in March of 2020, then also you would get, likewise, get a priority. We now, as we're designing the program, we may have some other priorities, which would likely be around equity, an equity lens in terms of low, moderate income areas or businesses from historically disadvantaged populations. But that is something that remains to be determined. In terms of ineligible uses, generally speaking, it's that you can't, I'll say, double dip. So if you previously received a grant, let's say you received a PPP loan or a grant under one of the other state or federal business relief programs, you can't charge against this grant the same expenses that you'd already covered there. It doesn't make you ineligible, but it makes those expenses ineligible, so you can't double dip. So in conclusion, that's the program. Like I said, $145 million across the Commonwealth, about $17.5 million will be available in Philadelphia. Applications will be through PIDC. We will open the window on March 15th. In the meantime, please do keep, like I said, keep your eyes peeled on our website for more information and details in terms of the application. Marla, that's it for the CHIRP program. And with that, I believe we'll turn it over to my colleagues with the Small Business Administration to talk through the various opportunities that the federal government is making available to small businesses through the SBA.
Sam, if just before the SBA comes on, I just want people to understand how focused this program is, this CHIRP. So if you're, just as Sam said, those NAICE codes that begin with 721 include some of the obvious bed and breakfasts, hotels, but it also includes recreation and vacation, rooming houses, boarding houses. So for those of you who are operators, some of you offer housing for disabled veterans or other persons that don't have traditional housing, that could be a consideration. If you are in the 722 NAICE code, food services, drinking places, caterers are included, mobile food services are included, of course, drinking places and restaurants. But we want you to make sure you are checking out the 722 codes and the 721 codes and making sure that you are checking your eligibility. We do not want you to miss this opportunity. Okay.
Thanks, Marla.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start the SBA portion of the program. So thank you for staying with us. I'm Sonia Smith. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Eastern Pennsylvania District of the SBA. Our office is located in King of Prussia, where we service 40 counties in Eastern Pennsylvania. If you happen to be from elsewhere in Pennsylvania, our sister office in Pittsburgh, known as the Western Pennsylvania office, services the other 40 counties. If you're listening not from Pennsylvania, again, welcome, because we have 68 district offices throughout the nation, including an office in the US Virgin Islands and in Puerto Rico. Also, I encourage you to put questions into the Q&A. My colleague, Kim Stout, is online, and she will be answering your questions live. The one thing I do want to ask you is we are going to be going over all parts of the Economic Aid Act programs. So if you can listen to, if you have a question on, say, PPP or specifically the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, wait till I discuss that program because your question may be answered. Once I discuss the program and you still have a question, then that's a great time to put it into the Q&A. So welcome. I do want to let everyone know that the SBA continues to work expeditiously to appropriately update guidance and systems for the programs laid out in the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Venues Act. This was all signed into law on December the 27th, and we are administering these programs. The presentation today provides a general overview of these programs. And my disclosure is that in the event of any inconsistency between this presentation and the Economic Aid Act, between what I say, between what Kim says, between what we answer, please note that the official guidance governs. This information is current as of February the 5th, and we please encourage you to visit sba.gov/coronavirus relief for the most up-to-date information. So this is the agenda that we'll talk about today. Where we are, we'll go over the various type of COVID-19 economic aid funding options for your small businesses. We'll go into the loan program details on PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Then we'll provide grant program details on the Targeted EIDL Advance and the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. Please note, I'll be referring that as SVOG. It's just easier to say than the whole word. And then finally, we'll conclude with additional assistance and resources for this program. So I just want to let you know that we're working very hard to ensure that this economic aid is accessible to all that are eligible, including those hit hardest, while protecting program integrity and ensuring as quick a distribution as possible of the aid that we will be talking about. We're conducting extensive outreach campaigns, such as today, partnering with PIDC. We thank you for that, and they are a great partner to work with. We want to make sure there is full awareness of what's available to those affected. Now, I do want to let you know that the Biden-Harris administration has announced some changes to the Ppp program, and we as a frontline agency that are working to create an inclusive economy focused on reaching women-owned, minority-owned, and low and moderate income, rural, and other underserved communities in meaningful ways. So there are going to be some changes to the Ppp program. One of the things that just started yesterday is we have established a 14-day exclusive Ppp loan application period for businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 20 employees. The exclusive application process started yesterday and goes on through March the 9th. Also, the Ppp funding has been revised for sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed persons to use the gross income line on Schedule C. Now, at this time, we do not have a new application for that. So when the information is available, we of course will share it with PIDC, and it will be on our website. Also, there will be fairer access to returning citizens by eliminating the Ppp eligibility restriction that did not allow those with a non-fraud felony within the previous year to apply for Ppp. Also, those who are delinquent on federal student loans can apply, and immigrant small business owners who lawfully reside in the U.S. and pay taxes in the U.S. and have an ITIN, an individual tax identification number, will be able to apply for the Ppp. So everything that I just talked about, you can see it's not on a slide because this information just came out a few days ago. So as I mentioned, please stay tuned, work with PIDC, check our website to learn what the policies and the guidelines and the application process is for that information. So let's get started here. So this slide talks about the loan programs and the grant programs. PPP is an economic aid program. It's a forgivable loan provided through a participating PPP lender to cover employee payroll. A minimum of 60% of the loan and 40% of other covered eligible expenses, and they have been expanded, and they now include payroll costs, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, operations expenditures, property damage costs that would have been due to the civil unrest in 2020. Supplier costs and worker protection expenditures are now included. Debt relief is available on our 7A, 504, and microloan borrowers, and economic injury disaster loans, or EIDLs. Those are for temporary working capital relief. And then we'll talk about the grant programs, the targeted EIDL advance for businesses in low-income communities. And then, of course, our SVOG, grants for live venue operators, promoters, theatrical producers, and we'll go into that too. Okay, so these are the top takeaways of the PBP as outlined in the Economic Aid Act, which provided the newest round of funding for the program. It's important to note it is still a 60-40 spend ratio of payroll to other expenses for the PBP loan to be eligible for 100% forgiveness. A borrower can now select a covered period to be between 8 and 24 weeks. The covered period begins the date your lender has dispersed the loan. There is now a second draw PPP loan option. We're going to get into that. It allows for the deduction of expenses covered with forgiven PPP loan debt on federal taxes. And please, if you have any questions in regards to the taxes, please check with the IRS or your CPA or your tax professional. Neither Kim nor I are an expert in taxes, and we will not be able to answer any of those questions. There is a simplified forgiveness form for PPP loans up to $150,000. Of course, that is available on our website. And for those of you that took out an EIDL advance and had a PPP loan, the EIDL advance is no longer part of your PPP loan. So the EIDL advance is now a grant. It will not be subtracted from the PPP loan forgiveness. Okay, so what is a first draw PPP loan? If you are an eligible applicant that did not receive a PPP loan prior to August 9th, you can apply for a first draw PPP. So eligible expenses now include payroll costs, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, operations expenditures, certain property damage costs, again, due to the civil unrest in 2020, supplier costs, and worker protection expenditures. Now, we will be sending you, along with the PowerPoint presentation, actually PIDC will be sending it to you, not only the slides, but also detailed information on what are the definitions for all of these eligible expenses. And we even have page numbers identified where you can find the specific answers to these questions. Now, certain borrowers, if you had an original PPP loan amount, you may be able to request an increase. We encourage you to have that dialogue and that conversation with your lender. Now, to have a first draw PPP, you must have been in business by February the 15th. We are encouraging everyone to apply on or before March 31, or unless the congressional appropriations are exhausted. So the first draw PPP loan eligibility, you need to comply with size standards. And generally, most entities should have less than 500 employees. We also have an alternative size standard. And if you need any assistance with that, you can definitely reach out to PIDC and we'll be able to assist you if the size of your business complies with SBA size standards. So there are some newly eligible type of entities such as housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations, certain 501c6 organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce, and eligible news organizations. Now for the housing co-ops, destination marketing organizations, and the 501c6s, the size standard is 300 employees. Still eligible are the sole props, our independent contractors, self-employed persons, business entities, 501c3s, 501c19s, and tribal businesses. Okay, so what is a second draw PPP loan? If you previously received a PPP loan, have 300 employees or less, and have suffered a 25% reduction in gross receipts, you may be eligible to apply for a second draw PPP. Now, the second draw PPP will not be dispersed unless you have expended your PPP first draw funds on eligible expenses. So to calculate the second draw PPP, it's just like the first. The maximum loan amount is 2.5 times your average monthly 2019 or 2020 payroll costs. The maximum amount of the second draw PPP is $2 million. The first draw, the maximum was $10 million. Now you've heard a lot through today's presentation with representatives from PIDC and Comcast that the accommodation and food services sector has been really affected. SBA recognizes that also. So if you are a borrower in the accommodation and food services sector, NAICS code 72, you are able to take 3.5 times your average monthly 2019 or 2020 payroll costs to calculate the maximum amount of your second draw PPP. Also, that maximum amount is $2 million. We have a special form for the second draw PPP loan applicants. It's SBA form 2483-SD. SD stands for second draw. It's on our website. You will also find the application, just a standard 2483, and that's for first draw applications. So as I mentioned, with the second draw eligibility, you need to have previously received a first draw PPP and the covered periods cannot overlap. Remember, I mentioned that you need to have expended the PPP first draw funds because before your lender will give you a disbursement for the second. Again, for second draw PPP, you cannot have more than 300 employees. And also very important is you need to demonstrate at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. So that means a quarter is the generally known quarter like January, February, March, or April, May, June. You can't have a quarter that is February, March, or April. So they're standard quarters. And you need to compare comparable quarters. So if you were in business in all of 2019 and you're looking at third quarter of 2019, you need to compare it with third quarter of 2020. Now, if you were not in business in all quarters of 2019, in the information that we send you, you will be able to see how you are able to demonstrate the 25% reduction. So if you started in second quarter or third quarter or fourth quarter, there is information there on how to make that comparable demonstration of the 25% reduction. So the PPP loan application process. where do you go to apply? This program we have delegated to our lenders. So to find a PPP lender, you can have a few options. You can go to our website, sba.gov/lendermatch. You answer about 20 questions about yourself and your business, and you are matched with PPP lenders in your area. You can also go to sba.gov/paycheck protection/find, or you can contact one of our resource partners at sba.gov/local-assistance. You can talk with Marla and her staff at PIDC. You can start with the lender that you currently have a business relationship with. So as you can see, there are very many different ways that you can find a PPP lender. You need to complete the application, including all supporting documentation. Again, consultants at PIDC and our SBA resource partners can assist you in completing the application. So once you complete the application, and sometimes it may be the one that is on our website, a lot of lenders have an online form that it's just basically the same information, but it's on their platform. So once you complete it, it's reviewed by the lender. The lender submits it electronically to SBA. We will review it, and there will be a short time lapse between when a lender submits the application information and to when we provide an SBA loan number back to the lender, just because we want to make sure there is a reduction of incidents of fraud. And again, very important, March 31, or when the appropriated funding is exhausted, is the final deadline for lenders to submit applications to us. So once you have expended all of your PPP loan funds, and remember, this is a loan that may be able to be 100% forgiven. If it is not 100% forgiven, it will have a fixed interest rate of 1%. There is no requirement from the lender to take any collateral or any personal guarantees. There are no fees or prepayment penalties. There is a 5-year maturity on this loan. And for those listeners that received loans before June 5th, it's 2 years. However, we encourage you to talk to your lender to request an extension to 5 years. Payments start once you know how much of the PPP loan will be forgiven. And remember, this is a decision that the lender makes, and the lender will notify you of the amount, whether it's 100% forgiven or whether there is a portion that is not. If you choose to not to apply for forgiveness, payments will start 10 months after the last day of the covered period. So remember, if you had a PPP draw 1 and then a PPP draw 2, you will have to complete the forgiveness application process for the first draw, and then you would complete the PPP forgiveness application for the second draw. Okay, very important. You need to apply for forgiveness through your lender. Any questions that you have, we would encourage you to talk with your lender, because again, we have delegated this program to our lenders. Again, with the Economic Aid Act, idle advances are no longer deducted from the PBP loan forgiveness amount. So if you received an idle advance, it is a grant. You do not have to repay that. Expenses paid with PPP loan funds are federally tax deductible. Again, we encourage you to consult the IRS, your CPA, or a tax professional for details on this bullet point. As I mentioned, there were expanded forgivable expenses that were included in the Economic Aid Act. And again, with the information that we will be sending you, you'll have some great definitions on what all of these forgivable expenses are. And as I mentioned before, there's a new forgiveness app for PPP loans under 150. And per the CARES Act, forgiven PPP loans are not federally taxable income. Now, we do encourage you to retain all of your documents for at least 4 years. You want to make sure you have the documentation. Also, people are asking how long does the PPP forgiveness, how long does it take? Per the CARES Act, lenders have up to 60 days to review the forgiveness application. And then in turn, SBA has up to 90 days to issue its decision on forgiveness. Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So this is a loan program. There is no forgiveness with the EIDL loan. The goal of this program is to provide economic aid to businesses experiencing a temporary loss of revenue due to COVID-19. This program was extended to take applications through the end of the year, through December. Use of proceeds, this is working capital. This will allow you to pay bills that your business would have been able to pay had the pandemic not occurred. Again, this is a loan. There is a 2-tiered interest rate depending on if you are a for-profit business or a non-profit business. All loan terms, no matter how much money you get, they are for 30 years. There are no prepayment penalties. There is a 1-year deferment before your first payment is due. However, interest does begin to accrue from the date of your disbursement. Loans over $25,000, SBA will file a UCC filing. That means they will place a lien on your business assets. And qualified small businesses, cooperatives, and agricultural enterprises with 500 or fewer employees, and private nonprofits, which are the 501c3s and the 501c19s, are eligible to apply. We encourage you to, again, go to sba.gov/coronavirus relief. You can click on the EIDL loan, and then that will lead you to the EIDL application, which is online. If you are looking for any status updates on current applications, we encourage you to contact SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance. They are handling this program. The number you can call is 800-659-2955, or email them at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. We in the field offices, the district offices, we do not have access to the EIDL application portal and the database. So we are unable to tell you what the status of your loan application is. So the Economic Aid Act created a new program called the Targeted EIDL Advance. So this will balance out previous EIDL advances to the full $10,000 if, number one, your business is in a low income community. And of course, the first thing people are wondering, am I in a low income community? So I just want to let you know that, again, if you go to our website, sba.gov/coronavirus relief, you want to check the Targeted EIDL Advance program. And now SBA has implemented a mapping tool where you click on the link for the mapping tool, you put in the address where your business is located, and if it's shaded purple, then you will know that your business is in a low income community. So that is one of the requirements. The other requirement is you need to have suffered a greater than 30% economic loss, and your business must have 300 or fewer employees. So that will be the first part. Now, just remember, SBA will reach out to those who may qualify via email with instructions to determine eligibility, and that's whether you're in a low-mod community or not, and whether you have suffered that greater than 30% economic loss. So then you will be asked to submit documentation to the SBA. And the economic loss is calculated over an 8-week period, beginning on March 2nd of 2020 or later, when compared to the previous year. You will be asked to provide gross monthly receipts. and SBA will obtain a tax transcript from the IRS just to verify that what you reported to the SBA is the same as what you reported to the IRS. So the most important thing about the targeted EIDL advance is don't call us, we'll call you. And this will be coming through an email. The email will be sent from @sba.gov. So some things that you want to have if you do receive the email, you want to have a copy of your 2019 federal tax return. Make sure you know what EIN or SSN number that was in your original EIDL application. Make sure you've got your monthly gross receipts for 2019, 2020, and right now it would be the completed month of January in 2021. You will be asked to confirm if the information in your original EIDL application is still accurate. And as I mentioned, if you pass the initial eligibility, then SBA will ask you to sign a specific form. We call it a 4506T, again, to verify that the information you're providing to us is the same as you provided to the IRS. Now, only one submission for each targeted EIDL advance can be made. The application has 23 yes or no questions that has to be completed. Just some areas that you want to really focus on to make sure that you're not declined is just very carefully things on make sure you know the official name of your bank, make sure you know your checking account number, that it's open, that it can receive payments, that the checking account is in a business legal name, that your address and phone number match what's in the application, that the routing number is correct, that you haven't transposed your routing number and your checking account number. So, you know, some common reasons for failure is the account name doesn't match the business name, your business name changed since opening your checking account. So very, very important, just simple things like that. You don't want it to delay the process. And of course, the next point here, make sure that the information submitted is 100% correct. So due to the limited funds that are available, SBA will not be able to make reconsiderations. So you want to make sure that when your application is processed, it's a yes. The goal is to process these applications within 21 days. If you have any questions, SBA has created a specific email address, which is targetedadvance@sba.gov for your questions. And of course, if you're approved, you'll receive an email and an automatic deposit to the bank account that you provided for this. Okay, and now we're going to finally talk about the latest program, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, also known as SVOG. Applications are not yet open. Do Kim and I know when they will open? No, we do not. However, what is extremely important is your business will need to register through sam.gov. That's very important. And I believe it was all the days blend in here. If it was yesterday or the day before, or maybe it was both days, I don't remember. But we did do a program with PIDC specifically on the SVOG, and we did a presentation on how to register through sam.gov. So if you're thinking about applying for the SVOG, I would encourage you to start to apply through sam.gov because you're going to need to have that registration in place. So eligible entities, live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing arts organizations, and motion picture theater operators, relevant museum operators, zoos, aquariums, talent representatives, and up to 5 business entities owned by an eligible entity that also meets the eligibility requirements. Now, you may have a lot of questions. Does my business qualify for the SVOG? Is it an eligible type of business? Kim and I at the SBA cannot answer this question, and that's very important for me to let you know that, because this is a grant program and we are not authorized to make make eligibility determinations on your specific type of business. Having said that, again, with the documentation that we'll be able to send you with the slide deck, will be a link to FAQs that has a lot of questions like, well, what if my business is a mobile business? What if my business doesn't have permanent seating? We encourage you to take a look at those FAQs. And please note that once you have the link, it's not a static link. It is a changing link. SBA is constantly adding and refining questions that are in the FAQ on the SVOG. So other requirements are you must have been in operation as of February the 29th. And you must not have applied for or received a PPP loan on or after December 27th. So if you're thinking SVOG or PPP, can I apply for both and find out which one I'm eligible for? No, the answer is no. You cannot apply for both. You have to make a business decision. And again, this is one that Kim and I cannot make that business decision for you. You need to decide which program you will be applying for. Now, if you receive your PPP loan before December 27th, that's fine. You don't need to make that decision which program to go for. This is only for venues or promoters that have not applied or have not received a PPP loan. This is a chart, and actually, let me see here. I think I'm gonna go back one slide. Whoops. I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, let me just stay here because I do want to tell you a little bit more about that. So the way that the amount of your grant, you will be determining it is if you were in operation on January 1, 2019, then it's the lesser of an amount equal to 45% of your 2019 gross earned revenue or $10 million. And again, definitions like, well, what is gross earned revenue? All of that is answered in the FAQs. Now, if you began operation after January 1 of 2019, it's the lesser of the average monthly gross revenue for each full month you were in operation during 2019 multiplied by 6 or a maximum of $10 million. So again, what you want to do now is you want to get registered into SAM. That's the federal government system of awards management, because this is a requirement before you can receive the grant. Okay, this is a cross-program eligibility of the economic aid. So basically, what the important thing is the COVID-19 EIDL loan. It doesn't matter whether you are applying for the SVOG or applying for the PPP or have the PPP, the EIDL, you can apply for that. The SVOG, if you already received a PPP before December 27th of last year, then you're just applying for the SVOG. If you have not received the PPP since December 27th of last year, you need to make the decision, PPP or SVOG. You can't apply for both. Okay, SBA is also offering loan debt relief. So if you have an SBA 7A loan, an SBA 504 loan, or if you have an SBA microloan, there is debt relief available where SBA will be making payments on your loans. The assistance varies based on when your loan was approved and the type of loan it is. You do not need to apply for this debt relief. SBA provides it automatically. So I would encourage you to contact your lender and to find out if you qualified for debt relief and what type of debt relief will be available on your loan. SBA also has a sample letter that you can see what went out to eligible borrowers. Okay, so finally, we're ending here kind of back where we started, that we reviewed the PPP. So applications closed on March 31. You want to contact a PPP lender to apply. And of course, with the Economic Aid Act, more flexibilities have been granted to ensure small businesses can keep their employees on payroll. And of course, as I mentioned in the very beginning, with the Biden-Harris administration, they have, we're making policy changes, as I mentioned. Right now, it's the 14-day exclusive PPP loan application for businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 20 employees. And the other changes, SBA will be putting out guidance and forms and applications with those changes shortly. So stay tuned on that. Debt relief, we just talked about that. If you have any of those types of current loans, reach out to your lender to find out what type of debt relief is available. So the economic injury disaster loan, low interest, long-term loan is available through the end of the year, or of course, until funding is exhausted. The targeted idle advance, remember, will contact you if you're eligible. You will then complete the application with the documentation that you're in a low income area, that you suffered the 30% decrease in revenues, and SBA disaster will take it from there. And of course, the SBOG, stay tuned. Take a look at the FAQs that we have on our website. And of course, so important that you need to register at sam.gov. Finally, don't forget, this is these are all a lot of different programs, not only what SBA has to offer, but what the state is offering and what other stakeholders and partners are offering. Just remember, no cost assistance with preparing financial statements, submitting loan applications, forgiveness applications, and of course, the various small business recovery tools that are available. Please take advantage of our resources. You can find our resource partners at the Locate Partner website. There are 16 SBDCs located throughout Pennsylvania. Small business development centers are associated with colleges and universities. So in Philadelphia, we work with Temple and Widener. SCORE is a volunteer group of business owners and professionals. They have chapters throughout the various counties in Pennsylvania. In fact, there's an active SCORE chapter in Philadelphia. We have 4 women's business centers throughout the state, in Center City, Philadelphia, in Lancaster, in Pittsburgh, and in Erie. And finally, for veterans and spouses of veterans, we have a Veterans Business Outreach Center in Virginia. We also have our office has a Veterans Business Outreach Officer, Shannon DeGilio. She is a veteran and currently in the reserves to help veterans and spouses of veterans navigate entrepreneurship and business resources. And of course, I would be remiss without also mentioning our partner today, PIDC, and the consultants that are available at PIDC to help you. Finally, we encourage you to access our Eastern Pennsylvania Resource Guide. This lists all of the websites and the phone numbers for all of our local partners, as well as information on all of the lenders in Eastern Pennsylvania. Finally, we encourage you to stay connected with us. Subscribe to our e-newsletter. Simply go to sba.gov/updates and put in your zip code. If you're not from the 40 counties in Eastern Pennsylvania, but like what you hear and want to get our Eastern Pennsylvania newsletter, you can simply put in the zip code 19406. 19406 is the zip code for King of Prussia where we're located, and that will make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. Please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is SBA_Eastern PA for up-to-the-minute updates on programs, resources, workshops, everything that we can do to help you start, grow, and navigate the pandemic. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Our email is listed, as is our phone number for our district office. And then we're just ending with the 3 websites that you can go to: coronavirus relief on all of the economic aid packages, sba.gov/PPP, and sba.gov/SVO grant. And at this point, I'm going to end the program.
Great. We've got a lot of questions. So what we're going to do is ask everyone who has a question to please use the raise hand function, and Quinn and Jasmine will unmute you. Please direct your question to the appropriate presenter. So we've got James, we've got Sam, and we've got Sonia and Kimberly from the SBA. So raise your hand and we'll take your question in the order of your hand being raised.
Okay, the first person we have here is Vanessa Simpson. Vanessa, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, I own an event venue in the city of Philadelphia. I do not have catering. It's the venue halls. So we were shut down the first time for COVID and in the city of Philadelphia, then turned around and was shut down again, November to January, and then it was extended. So I guess where I fall into the category as far as event venues, we were going by the restaurants and the funerals, and I see that there's been some grants and stuff presented for the restaurants and stuff like that. But is there any consideration, or have there been any talk regarding the event venues? Because there's a lot of event venues in Philadelphia that does not fall under the umbrella with that caters. I do not cater. We do not offer that type of service. However, we have been shut down the same way how the restaurants are. But again, are there any considerations as far as for the event venues? Because I know for a fact that a lot of them have shut down and have not reopened.
Vanessa, I guess I'll start. This is Sam, and as I think you've heard, there's perhaps a couple of different options. With respect to the Commonwealth program that I described, the CHIRP program, that is very targeted to those 721 and 722 NAICS codes. So I don't know whether whether you fall into one of those 2 categories. If you do, then you're eligible.
Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, because when I established my business at the time, I guess it was just becoming, pretty is new in the city of Philadelphia. So my code, I don't have a 712 or 21 code. My code actually is 531120, because
Okay.
they didn't know where to put me under. They didn't know where to actually put event venues.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if with that code, you unless you're able to, unless there's flexibility there, then you would not be eligible under that specific program. But I'll let Sonia and James speak to whether or not you'd be eligible under their programs.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Sonia. Unless I'm missing something, I believe that you are a for-profit business, correct?
Correct.
So you are able to apply for the economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL program. And do you have employees, or do you pay yourself?
I am an S corp. I'm an LLC and sole proprietor. I have, and again, as an event venue, because I offer event decorating as well. So the way how my business operates, I'm the only full-time employee. However, when I'm hired to do events, pretty much the employees, they're just working for per event. So almost like under the table. So I can't.
Well, right. So you cannot claim those people as your employees. Right. You cannot, if you're paying them with a 1099, they can apply for that themselves.
Correct.
So one thing that I had mentioned, since you are then a sole proprietor, stay tuned to SBA, because as I mentioned, the way you want to see how you reported your gross income on Schedule C of your federal tax return. Okay. And then you may be eligible for a PPP loan. So remember, the PPP loan is a forgivable loan, which means it turns into a grant if you're able to evidence to your lender that you spent the money appropriately as required. Okay. So the new changes to PPP for sole proprietors, independent contractors, and the self-employed may benefit you. So what you want to do is see what you reported on your Schedule C as gross income.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just a quick question for you. How long have you been in business?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, so you would qualify for the different aspects of the Comcast RISE program. So either the general tenets of the program or this new grant that is going to be launched March 1st through the 14th in Philly.
That's the RISE program, correct?
Correct. Yep, the Comcast RISE. Yep.
Okay.
So if you go to ComcastRISE.com next week, both applications would be there. Currently, one is open right now.
Okay, great, thank you. And I have one last question. I don't want to take up everyone's time, because at the time when I opened up my venue in the city of Philadelphia, that code, the NAICS code, I don't know if I'm falling into the right category. I want to make sure that I'm counted correctly. So how do I go about, finding out where I fall under? Because, with the funeral homes, when the COVID hit, and then the restaurants, the indoor gatherings, because I own an event venue, and that's, with no food, so there's no catering, any of that. So I have, it just seems like we fell in between that crack.
Now, so I guess I have a question. Do you have a bookkeeper or an accountant that you rely on? I'm just wondering if you do, perhaps you could have a conversation with them, and they might be able to bring some experience to bear in terms of whether there's some flexibility there.
Okay, great. Thank you. I sure will.
Thanks.
And please remember that for the SBA program, for the Paycheck Protection Program, you have to have the NAICS code starting with 72 to qualify for that 3.5 times the monthly average. We reference tax returns, past tax returns. You cannot just change your code automatically now to fit into that and qualify for that program. So you have to have past documentation to qualify for some of these things.
Okay, thank you, everyone. The next person with their hand raised is Wayne. I'm going to unmute your mic, Wayne.
Hi, everyone. My question was, I do construction. I'm a contractor, and my question is, I know that they released some type of funding, as a result of political unrest. I think we had 2 episodes where there were looting. But during that time, we missed that period of it. But outside of that period, our trailer was stolen with our tools in it, but it was recovered. But the trailer is damaged and the stuff is damaged. My question was, is there, would I fall into any of the categories to get any relief specific to that?
So has your business been impacted by COVID-19? Have you suffered revenue because of COVID-19?
Yes.
Okay, so you would be able to qualify for our economic injury disaster loan, okay, which is a loan program.
Okay.
Right, you, go ahead.
And PA Cares, they also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I applied through them for the EIDL, Loan Economic Disaster Release. So that would disqualify me to apply again, right?
I don't know what PA Cares is. That's not a federal program.
Okay.
Wayne,
Now
it's
again, in regards to our PPP Paycheck Protection Program, do you pay yourself a salary? Do you have W-2 employees?
Yes. Yeah, I'm independently owned, similar to the last person who was explaining that they
Okay,
contract.
so you can also apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. So you've got two SBA programs that you can apply for. And remember,
I think I applied.
Go ahead.
Say it again. I think I applied for that with the enterprise.
Oh, perfect.
Pbp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I applied with them. So I'm good on that. I can't apply for anything around PPP loan. Again, that would be double dipping, right?
Did you use up all of your PPP funds within 8 weeks in an 8-week period, or are you still using it?
Yes, I used the boat.
Okay, so you may be eligible for a PPP second draw.
I applied for that one.
Then you've done everything you can with SBA programs. You're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification.
No problem. That's what we're here for.
And I don't know how long you've been in business, but if it's more than a year, you can apply for the Comcast RISE general program. And if it's for a minimum of 3 years, you can apply for the grant program that is coming up March 1st to the 14th as well.
Okay, cool. So I will qualify, I imagine, for both of them.
Oh, great. Yep. So just go to comcastrise.com and you can sign up for both.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
Okay, this next person is Bertina.
Hello there. Hi, I'm sorry. I can't show the background. Hi, Ms. Marla. My question is for the 14-week rollout for the businesses that are sole props that have the one person. I know they've got to provide their taxes. They've got to show their payroll. If they don't have, say it's like a one person that they've done their taxes, they got a 1040 and a Schedule C, but they don't actually have the payroll summary. Is that something that's absolutely necessary, or how do we provide that? Because some of them don't have accountants that, are able to put together a payroll summary. Some of them, have accepted their payroll just isn't organized well. How do we help them to make sure that they qualify as a sole proprietor, single member business?
So we don't have official guidance on that yet. Yes, we understand that this revision was made as of yesterday, but SBA headquarters has not released any official guidance on how our sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed can use their tax returns and what to use to calculate. So we're still waiting for that information.
Okay, so in the meantime, just make sure they have everything else before we push go on the application?
Yeah, you want to make sure that they have their tax returns from 2019. If they've have their tax returns from 2020, but until we have official guidance of how to calculate and what to use, we can't share that until it's released from headquarters.
Okay, and to be clear, they don't have to have 2020, 2019 is sufficient, right?
Yep, 2019 is sufficient. Please understand though that, you know, there has to be a positive number on these line items. Was speaking with somebody yesterday who had a negative number. And so that's not proof of income. So they have to have higher than 0 on their line items.
Right, and that's line 31, right? Where
It was using line 31, but as of yesterday, guidance is changing. And once we have that, we'll issue that out.
Okay, so just to be safe, I want to be very clear because we're working with a group of barbers and stylists in the Philly area, and we want to help support them with processing their applications. Is it safe for them to just hold on? Because a lot of them are really, really confused because they fall in this category of single member sole proprietor, and we're afraid to say, go ahead on and, you know, process your application, and we're not clear on those things. So would you say from the SBA that it's safe to have them just to hold until we get that information?
We don't have guidance from SBA, so we don't even know what the SBA is asking for at this point. So once that's clarified, that's when these individuals should submit their application.
Okay.
Yeah, so just continue to check with PIDC, as I mentioned, you know, check on our Twitter account, on email, on the website, when that guidance will be put out.
Thank you.
Because it's not just you, it's everyone nationwide that is waiting for this information.
Okay, got it. Thanks so much.
Bertina, and let me say, Bertina has done an outstanding job in Philadelphia in organizing the hairstylists and the barbers who are in so many neighborhoods and communities. They have started the PA Professional Image Alliance. And so, Bertina, you are to be commended for the work that you're doing in representing. I think you've got about 100 members now. And so they should also
We're almost at 200.
Almost 200. So you've got some of the right people on this call right now. So whether it is Comcast RISE, whether it is the changes that are coming up with the Paycheck Protection Program, we will be connected. You know, I try to stay connected to you. So as soon as we get that information from the SBA, we'll make sure to get that out to you. And you've got James here on the call. So we want to make sure your members know as much as they can to access these funds.
Thank you so much, Marlon. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
And we're all trying to wait patiently for this information.
Gotcha.
Okay, the next person I'm going to call on is Linda. By the way, hi, Linda. I know you. Go ahead and unmute your mic. Linda, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. You might have to press your unmute button as well.
Okay, hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for all of that information. I was interested in everything you said, but specifically with, I applied for a second loan with my bank. And did I hear you correctly when you said that you have to be approved or you have to work with your banker on your forgiveness loan for the first one before the second one would be approved?
No, that's incorrect. You do not have to have forgiveness on your first draw before applying for the second draw.
You just need to have expended all of the money on the first one before they can give you the second.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you have any idea of, I guess this is probably not a good question, but I guess I wanted to know, does the program end on March 31st or, well, or not?
At this time.
Because I put my application in, yeah, I put my application in about 6 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything.
Then you need to follow up with the lending institution that you submitted that application and find out the status of it.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's what led to that on the first forgiveness. So that's not true.
I didn't catch all of that, so I don't know if anybody else had trouble hearing, but I did not catch all of that question.
Linda, I think what you should do is the entity that provided forgiveness for the first draw, you may want to check with them to make sure that you received all of that forgiveness for that. And if the second draw lender is the same, just go back to that lender and ask those questions about forgiveness.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, and keep us posted.
I certainly will.
Keep us posted because we may be able to ask a question to the SBA offline.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, our next raised hand is from Wayne.
Hey, hi everyone. It's me again, totally off topic, but Marla just commended the lady on organize the barbers and stylists. Are we going to have an opportunity here? I know we were in person. I can walk over and talk to her and ask a little bit more about that. I would like to follow up with that lady about what she's doing in the community.
I just put the website link in the chat, Wayne. So if you check the chat, you will see that information, or you can send me an email and I will get that information to you in case you miss it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure.
Next person is Jonathan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Question. I'm an owner of a catering business. My question is this. With the CHIRP, I don't know if I'm speaking to the right one. If you already applied for your second PPP loan and you put in your 25% deduction on the third quarter, are you saying you can't apply for the CHIRP as well?
You are, in order to apply for the CHIRP, you have to, I guess, two things, Jonathan. One is that you do need to show to be eligible a 25% decrease in gross receipts. And again, the program's not out yet, so we haven't narrowly defined exactly what that means, but you do need to meet that. I don't know whether or not that would include revenues from a PPP loan. I will say that if you are eligible, you can't cover the same expenses twice. So if you are eligible under CHIRP, it would have to cover other expenses which you had not already covered under the PPP.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, I have that all squared away. I just wanted to know exactly, because it's kind of tough for catering, because when you don't, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough for catering because you don't have a brick and mortar, but you do have a place where a commercial kitchen. And thing is that you might not have, you have to change what you do. Like the young lady that has the venues, everything had to change on my end because a lot of events was canceled. So I had to find another way to produce money. So I just was trying to find out, even if I put that in, because I did get the idea of what to do as far as the SBA was concerned through my accountant. But I wanted to know for sure with the CHIRP that it will be used in other aspects. I just wanted to know whether or not I'll be able to apply for it.
Yes, if you, as a caterer, you should, you're likely in the 722 NAICS code category, so you should be eligible that way. And like I said, the only question is whether you experience the 25% drop in revenue and how PPP revenues are counted. So stay tuned in terms of how that's counted. If you have multiple costs, so again, that you're not double, quote unquote, double dipping, then you're eligible.
As far as the Comcast, would I be able to apply for that as well?
Yes, that is correct. If you've been in business for at least a year, and this is Wayne, right?
No, this is Jonathan. I've been in
Oh,
business.
Jonathan.
I've been in business for 6 years.
Perfect. So you can apply for both programs under the Comcast RISE program. The open applications for the grant program will be open starting on March 1st. So when you go to comcastrise.com, you'll only see the current general program application that's open, but you'd have to go back or just apply for next week after the 1st. So it's the 1st through the 14th for the grant program for Philly-based BIPOC SMBs, and the general programs. This current round of general program ends on May 7th, so you have a little bit of time there.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, it is 3:32. We promised to start at 2 and end at 3:30, so we thank everyone for your interest. There's a lot of information out here. There are funds that are waiting for your application, and we have given you information before the application periods open. So please, please, please make sure you are going to the comcastrise.com website, looking at all the information that is available. The application period for this round has not yet started, and so you've got a few days to get onto that website, understand what's being asked or required, and then submit your application. For the CHIRP program, it has not yet started, but Sam has started giving you some information. We will make sure this presentation is emailed to you. Please, please read the information, and before you rush to submit your application, please make sure you pay attention to details. I know in some of these programs that your information from your tax returns and your DUNS number has to be identical. So we don't want you to be rejected because you have different information for the same named company. So please just be patient, make sure all of your information looks the same. Then we invite you to come again with us on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We are hosting the SBA again. We are partnering with the Philadelphia International Airport, where they have concessionaires and vendors. We're going to talk specifically about the Paycheck Protection Program. So if there are questions from today that were not answered, feel free to join us. It is not a closed webinar. Although we're doing it in partnership with the airport, it is open for anyone to join us. So just go to the PIDC website, register for that, and make sure you're coming with your questions. The last thing we want you to be is confused. So we know in this next round with Comcast, you've got a period of time to get that information in before the awards are made. And I think, James, the awards are going to be announced in April. We want Philadelphia to show up and show out with these grants. Comcast RISE is awarding 100 grants of $10,000 each. And if your business doesn't need the $10,000 grant, don't award it. Don't apply and just tell somebody else. But if every dollar counts during this pandemic, and Comcast RISE is trying to help, get that information, get your application in, and be one of those 100 businesses. Look, it's only 5 cities across the country that Comcast has selected, and we are fortunate in Philadelphia that we are one of those 5. So we want to make sure in Philadelphia we are showing out and showing up for this $100,000 that's going to be invested in Philadelphia businesses that are owned by Black, Indigenous, and people of color. SBA is going to send us some information as soon as they get the guidance from National about this exclusivity period. And I think, Kim and Sonia, we just want to emphasize with people, this period is for the smallest of the small businesses. It's for the smallest of the small. If you miss that 14-day period, you can still apply. It's just that for this period of time, the administration is saying we want to do extra effort to get these smallest of the small businesses. If you miss it though, you can still apply because the application period is until March 31st. So with that, we want to thank all of our guest speakers for today for showing up and taking the time to make sure this information gets to you. So with that, it is 3:36. Thank you, James, Sonia, Sam, Kimberly, of course, my colleagues, Jasmine, Quinn, and Stanley. If anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and we'll make sure your question is answered as soon as possible. Thank you so much. There's my email address in the chat, mhamilton@pidcphila.com. Happy Thursday, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you all very, very much. James, thanks to you. Thanks to Comcast.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.